tonight's service. I'm so glad you're here. Don't forget about small groups right after Chris's message. Next week, we finally get to meet in person. We're having a squirt gun fight at 6:30, so don't forget to bring your water gun. The week after that, we're playing slip and slide kickball with Kernersville Wesleyan behind the fellowship building. If you want a little sneak peek for what's gonna happen next week, check out this video. Bye, guys.
It's gonna be good. They're gonna freak out. Hey guys, we're gonna do something a little different. We're gonna go into a worship time. I asked my buddy Tyler to record a worship song, and so I'm gonna play that for you, and then we're gonna go into this reflective video, and I'm gonna beg you to not tune out. This may not be your thing, you may not be somebody who likes to sing or reflect on your feelings or whatever it is, but I'm gonna ask for something different tonight. I'm gonna talk about my message, but this has been a heavy week, a heavy few weeks, a heavy few months. And so I think it'd be really good for us just to pause in that and ask God if he could do something in us and through us. And so even though this might not be something you're super comfortable with, at least you're at home, no one else is around you, you don't have to sing, but at least reflect. Allow God's words to be sung over you. And then allow yourself to process some of these questions that you're going to see in the video. I can't make you do this. But it's like anything else, if you engage in it, you might be surprised what God's going to do or could do. So check this out.
Cast my mind to Calvary, where Jesus bled and died for me. I see his wounds, his hands, his feet, my Savior on that cursed tree. His body bound, drenched in tears, they laid him down and shall pierce the night, and I will rise among the saints. My gaze transfixed on Jesus' face. Oh, praise the Lord our God. In His face we will sing your praise, oh Lord our God.
Guys, I just wanted to say a quick prayer before we go into our message today. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you that we have the technology that we can do this stuff. Please bless Chris as he delivers the message. Please let it be just filled with your wisdom to help us get through this rough time. And bless the small groups that will follow afterwards. In your name I pray, amen.
So tonight I want to be real with you. I would love to be able just to sit up here or stand up here and just be able to go as if life is normal, right? And we can joke and we can laugh and we can do all these things we normally would do. But unfortunately, I can't. And we already know it's not normal because you're watching at home and you're not in our youth room, right? You're not in this room with me right now where I can throw things at you and we can joke and we can laugh and I can hit you and all of those things that we love to do every single week. We already know it's not normal because our world's in the middle of this pandemic. And then this last week happened. And I was back and forth of whether or not we should talk about it because obviously none of you are really in the middle of this, right? And more than likely, none of you that are watching tonight are in the middle of anything that's going on downtown Greensboro, downtown Winston, downtown High Point, in all these major cities around the world. It doesn't affect us directly. Yet you may know somebody who it is affecting. Maybe somebody from your school. Maybe someone in your family. Maybe a friend of a friend's brother, sister. It doesn't matter. You may know somebody who's affected with the things that are going on in our world today. And some people would say, hey, you're teenagers. We don't have to talk about it. But I think because you're teenagers, we actually should talk about it. Because for so long, our natural tendency sometimes is protect our kids, protect those people who are too young to maybe do anything about it. But sometimes I wonder if we are in this situation because we try to protect our young. We try to protect our students. We try to wait. When they're grown, we can have these conversations. And I think by the time you graduate high school, it may be too late. Because when you are in middle school and high school, God is forming you. God is forming your opinions. God is forming your bodies. He's forming your minds, your spirit. He is forming so much in you that I actually think this is the time to have tough conversations. Because it gives you an opportunity to process those things in a safe environment. Right? To process what it is to be around people who think like you and who think differently than you. How to agree and disagree with someone. How to stand up for someone and also protect yourself. What does that mean? What does that look like? And I don't have all the answers for that tonight. We don't have the time, and I'm not smart enough to answer all of those questions for you. But I do know this. I know that when injustice happens or when people are upset, as Christ followers, it's our job to listen. To listen first. Sometimes we naturally want to act, or sometimes we naturally want to defend, or we want to argue, or we want to rebuttal. But I truly think that our job as Christians, as Christ followers, is to listen. Jesus talked about a lot in the Gospels in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the idea of caring for those who cannot care for themselves, to look out for the orphan, the widows, those who are unjust. I mean, Jesus constantly went after the invalids, the people who couldn't walk, the people who couldn't talk, the people who were blind, the people who had diseases. He constantly surrounded himself with those people. He would touch them, he would heal them, and he would spend time with them. Even those who were ostracized and looked down as vile people like the tax collectors. Jesus looked up at Zacchaeus and said, hey, I want to go to your house tonight. I don't care about your social status. I don't care about who you are as a person. All I care about is that for this time, let's eat together and see what you could be, not what you have been. And it gets to where we are now, where we live in this country with all of these things that's happening, these Black Lives Matter movements and these rioting and people on one side of the argument and on the other side, and an election that's coming, and all of these opinions. And maybe you've heard it at home from your parents. Maybe you have opinions yourselves, and you're trying to figure out where you fit in all of it. Again, I don't have a magical answer for you. But I have this. In Psalms chapter 139, it's this great reflective passage. David is crying out to God. And it's this great reflective passage. And because I truly believe this, I think the reason why everything is at disarray, or one of the reasons why things seem to be in disarray, is because people just act and act and act, and we don't have a tendency of reflecting on ourselves first. Right or wrong with what's going on, us as individuals, we have a tendency of not reflecting and letting ourselves process a situation. Instead, we just give opinions or we just act. And that is why bad things can happen to other people, because people act on impulse to kill, impulse to steal, impulse to lie, impulse to manipulate. Like, these are things we do as impulses instead of evaluating who God has created us to be or evaluating the situation and how God might want us to react. And so I want to read these first 6 verses to you out of Psalms chapter 139. It says this. It says, "You have searched me, Lord, and you know me. You know when I sit and when I rise. You perceive my thoughts from afar. You discern my going out and my lying down. You are familiar with all my ways. Before a word is on my tongue, you, Lord, know it completely. You hem me in behind and before, and you lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me, too lofty for me to attain." We keep going. It says, "Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up to the heavens, you are there. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there." This is the first 8 verses. And right there we see this reflective conversation. It says, "You have searched me, Lord, and you know me." And you know everything about me. You know when I sit, when I stand. And I love in verse 7 and 8, it says, "Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up to the heavens, you are there. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there." Just showing David saying, God, no matter where I am, highs or lows, you are with me everywhere. You know me better than I know myself. And I think so many times we rely on what we can do, that we know better, we can do it, we can stand, we can fight, we can do this, we can do that. Whereas Christ followers, it needs to be different. It has to be different. We have to lean on God. And I truly don't think we lean on God by telling people that God has a different plan, that demanding that they follow God, that demanding that they're doing something wrong and the only right way is to follow God. I don't think that's the way that we're supposed to communicate. When I see Jesus talking to people who truly didn't know him, it was almost always in the context of relationship. If you look at Jesus and the woman at the well, this woman who was in adultery, this woman who was in and out of marriages and relationships, Jesus didn't walk up to her and instantly tell her to go and sin no more. No, Jesus had a conversation with this woman where he asked her, "Why are you out in the middle of the day?" A time when, the hottest time of the day, when no one would want to go get water. Why are you out here in the middle of the day? And Jesus knew she was embarrassed, but he still wanted to have this conversation with her. And then throughout that conversation, he talked about living water. He talked about who he was, what his role is, and how he could change her life. And then after that conversation, after she decided she was going to follow him, then he said, "Hey, go and sin no more. Hey, go and be different." But it wasn't until after the conversation. And so my challenge for you is this, is that you are at a time and in a culture where everybody wants to act. I'm going to ask you to listen. Okay, I'm going to ask you, when you're around your friends, even your parents, when you're around people who agree and disagree with you, before you act, before you speak, before you give your opinion, listen. Listen to their heart. Listen to what they're saying. And then ask God to give you wisdom in that. Because yes, if someone is trying to mistreat someone you love, if someone is saying something against what you believe in or against what you think, our natural tendency can be to ball up our fists and just go to fight, go to work. But 9 times out of 10, that's not the answer. There are times where you could see someone being physically hurt or verbally abused and verbally made fun of. And in those times, yes, we're supposed to act right then. If you see someone in your path that's getting mistreated, yes, it is our responsibility as a Christian right then and there to act. When we see injustice, we act. But for most of us, we are going to have conversations about what's going on in our world today. Conversations of how this pandemic is happening, whether you should wear a mask or not wear a mask, whether you should be around people or not be around people, and then hear what this Black Lives Matter movement means and how do we interact with people who look differently than us and talk differently than us and grow up differently than us. And you could keep going to people with disabilities or people who are at different income levels or people who come from 2-parent homes to 1-parent homes to no-parent homes and living with grandparents or aunts and uncles. The differences are endless. And so as you are having conversations of how to navigate through those, my prayer for you is that you remember that God already knows who you are. He's already created you, which means He's already given you the gifts and the talents in order to navigate this world and in order to have these conversations. It's our responsibility to trust Him with that. And so I don't have all the answers. I don't know what the next weeks are going to look like. I don't know what tomorrow is going to look like. That's not my job. My job as your pastor, my job as a father, my job as a husband, my job as a man of God is to trust God, is to trust Him, to trust the talents He has given me, and then do my best to walk in those. And so you're going to have conversations this week. I hope you have conversations this week. I hope you don't shy away from this, because I don't care if you're 11 years old or 18 years old. You are strong enough to navigate what's going on in our world. You're strong enough to have these conversations. You're strong enough to understand what is happening. And you're old enough to have an opinion. My prayer for you, what I would love for us to talk about in small groups, is how do we share that opinion in love? How do we share that opinion in kindness? And how do we listen more than we speak when it comes to those who are communicating how they are hurt, the injustice they have, and how they really feel passionate about a subject? It's really tough to do, and not many people can do it. But when we trust God to give us the words to speak when it's time, and the wisdom to know when we're supposed to listen instead of speaking, those are game changers. Because I really believe that we are in a time right now where, as Christ followers, our number one job might actually be to listen right now. Maybe not give a big opinion, but just listen. And see what God can do when we're willing to listen and then speak, or listen and then act. It could be a game changer in our world. It could be a game changer in your school, in your community, in your family, in you. Because you're allowing God to shape you, to mold you, to lead you, instead of you trying to lead yourself. So I know I've given you a lot of information. I know it might have seemed all over the place. But I believe in our small group time, we can kind of shrink it down and we can really have an opportunity to talk about what it means to be Christians in this world, to be Christ followers in this world where it seems like everybody has their own opinion. I believe in you guys. I love you. Let's pray. Father God, thank you so much for today. Thank you for the opportunity that we have just to gather in your name, to gather in your place, and to see what you have for us. God, I believe in every student or every leader that's watching this today. Father, may they know that they have the abilities. You've given them the abilities to listen, then to act, to listen, then to speak, and to do all of those under your name, under your wisdom, under your grace and your love and your goodness and your kindness and your freedom. Good things are going to come from this conversation, God. We love you and we praise you. In your name, amen. Hey guys, get ready to jump on Zoom right now, and we will have our small group time. I cannot wait to see you next week and squirt you in the face with some squirt guns in our squirt gun battle. It'll be a blast. I'll see you there.